Hi, I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes.
It is 10 p.m. on a Tuesday. We are double recording, so we are at a struggle for conversation. So we Googled some icebreaker questions to find
Again.
something fun to chat about. Yes.
Yeah, so
If you listen to last week, we're still here
yeah,
Googling.
we're still here.
What do you talk to your best friend of how many
Yeah,
years about?
what are you talking about? We ran out of topics. So I was just reading through the
Yep.
questions, most sucked, but one said, if you were on a deserted island, would you rather go with your worst enemy or no one? Um, I'm trying to think of who my worst enemy is.
I mean, I and instead of thinking of like worst enemy, like I thought of like a couple of people that I'm like, it sounds absolutely horrible to be stranded on a desert island with them. But then I'm also like, but would it be better than being alone? Because at least you'd have some like, okay, so here's my thing. So I'm thinking about Castaway, right? And
Hmm.
like, you're losing your mind, you're going crazy, you know? So at least if you have someone to like argue with and be mad at, like your brain's staying active, like you are firing on all
But
cylinders.
if they're your worst enemy, there's probably some mutual frustration here with each other.
Yes.
What if they kill you and eat you?
Okay, so
So you're also not thinking about them sabotaging you. Like maybe you got your water and you started your fire and then they put out your fire and now
mm,
you can't boil your water. Or maybe you found food and they like stole it from you. So
but are they also
honestly,
so like inept at taking care the are they also so inept at taking care of themselves on a deserted island that like they need me and so they're like, well, I'm not going to,
yeah,
you
what if they don't
know,
help you at all? Like what if you're in charge of everything? So then now you're not just taking care of yourself, you have to take care of two people.
why would
I'd
I
rather
take
talk
care
to a
of them?
volleyball.
Like I'll just leave you to So your answer would definitely be alone.
I guess. I don't know. I don't really
I
feel
don't
like I
have
have a worst enemy.
okay, so the two people I was thinking of, I'll put the bleep out here, but I was thinking of the
Oh,
two people like
has to be one of them.
yeah.
Oh, I couldn't. Yeah, I'd rather be
So
alone.
so I don't think either of them would kill me, probably.
That's
You know,
true.
like there's some, some mutual things, but it's not like that they would murder me, I feel like.
I
But
feel like
also, how long are we stuck on this island? Is it a week? Is it a month? Do we have a
I think it's
predetermined amount of
forever.
time?
It's a deserted
Ugh,
island. I think the
maybe
assumption
I'd just be
is you're
alone.
stuck forever. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like worst enemy. Like I don't even know. Like maybe my last ex, but like I don't even really care about him anymore. So I'm like,
Yeah,
whatever. Go to your side of the island. Just leave me alone.
yeah.
Like I don't know. I feel like I just don't like I shit talk people, but I don't feel like I like harbor like hatred
Hmm.
a lot. I don't know. I do think I'd rather be alone. But I feel like this also is my opinion on the zombie apocalypse.
Mm,
I'm just going out.
yeah.
I'm a
Be like,
bow out. I'm good.
I don't need to live through that.
Because
Yeah.
what if it's like Castaway? Spoilers if you've not seen Castaway. I get saved, I come back, and Kevin's married someone else.
Yeah.
I'll fight a bitch. That's my
Yeah.
worst enemy. Now, both
You're
of
like,
them.
now I have a worse enemy, okay? But also I feel like Kevin would probably leave her for you, you know?
I do think he would too.
Yeah.
I think he'd be like, "Whoop, bye. See you back."
Kevin's a loyal guy, and so like his like
Yeah.
first, I feel like
Hmm.
he would leave her for you. Now I gotta ask Andrew later if what he would do in that situation if he would
Yeah.
leave his new wife for me.
Well, we were talking about this at some point. We're talking about something. Maybe about like if you got divorced, like would you get remarried or whatever? And I
Hmm.
was like, it's so weird because like Kevin and I will talk like, what would you do if like the other person died? But like we've
Yeah.
never talked about like what if we get divorced? I mean, we used to joke like if we break up, who gets like cat? But
Yeah.
like I'm like, oh God, like I never thought about like divorce. I'm always just like it's me and Kevin till the end.
Yeah, like nope, I would have to die, or you
Yeah.
would presume that I'm dead.
Because we both said like we would not. So if he thought I was dead, like he would not like remarry someone,
Yeah.
according to what he says now. Should I pick a fight about this later?
You're like, I don't believe you, actually. Let's argue.
So actually, I had a dream that blah blah blah. No, I'm just kidding. But like we talk about that a lot where we're like, yeah, if like the other one died, like we would obviously probably date again, but
Hmm.
we probably would not get married again because it's like,
Yeah. I don't think I would get married again. I'm pretty sure I would not get married again.
yeah. So I could see myself like if Kevin was on it, if this is a castaway situation,
Hmm.
could see myself like maybe dating. But I do feel like if he came back, I would go back to him.
Yeah, same.
Or
Not Kevin, Andrew. I
Sparkle
wouldn't go back to Kevin.
situation. I'd be like, oh, I got two boyfriends now. No.
Like,
This
we
makes
can
me
work this
think
out,
of
right?
that Taylor Jenkins Reid book. You've read that one, right?
Yes.
One True
Yeah.
Love. That makes me think of that. But
Yeah.
because that brings up a good point. You changed a lot. But she was also younger. I feel like I'm like a little bit older
Kind
in
of,
life.
yeah, kind of as more established.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway,
let us know
let's
your
get back to
thoughts
it. Yes.
on Worst Enemy or Alone. Yeah, I don't know. It's
And if
because
you
it's
would
just
leave
hard
your
for
current partner for your previously thought to be dead partner.
see, that's just so hard because obviously you're gonna say yes. But then in
Yeah.
that moment, it's like you don't know.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Because it is hard. Like they maybe have already grieved you. They've already that's difficult, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy to say from this point, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, well, we are gonna continue this case. Welcome back to part two. Our sources are in part one, and just as like a little recap, it has been 2 weeks because you were a cheapo and didn't want to buy the Patreon. It's only $3 a month. Um,
Or if you're here, thank you. We love
oh,
you.
thank you. Sorry. But if you're here on the 22nd, you're the best. I love you. Um, Anyway, in part one, we detailed like Karen's recollection of January 28th, 29th. Her trial started, and we also detailed some of the evidence that was starting to be talked about in trial with like Jen McCabe and Carrie Roberts' kind of testimony. So now we're going to continue with the trial, and now they're calling to the stand Brian Albert, who is the owner of 34 Fairview and was out that night with the group of friends. So Brian Albert is a Boston police officer, and he's like the lead of like his family and kind of that crew out that night. You know, you always have like the mom slash dad of the group, like that's him. He's kind of the ringleader. So he testifies he did not hear anyone in his yard or hear any of Karen screaming the morning they found John, and that Brian and Nicole slept through the whole thing. So I don't know. Maybe I could believe it because like you guys were drinking a lot. So maybe you're passed out. But there were a lot of people outside your house. I feel like you would have woken up. But
Yeah.
um it also was kind of odd because after he was woken up, he never went outside or like left the house, which like you are also a police officer. I feel like you'd come out and be like, "Hey, what's going on?" whatever. Um, and no investigator has ever photographed the inside of the house. So we have no documentation of what the house looked like that night, if we're going with the conspiracy theory that something happened in the house. And the defense believes what happened to John was in that house that night. So the autopsy photo like shows marks on his arm, and they're like, this doesn't really look like being hit with a car. Like it's a bunch of different little like scratch marks. They're kind of jagged, it's all along his arm. And the defense also found a photo of Colin, who's one of Brian's sons, out weeks later with like red knuckles, kind of like he'd been in a fight, but he claims he slipped on ice. But a lot of people don't believe that because they're like, why are you going knuckle down when you're slipping on ice? You usually go palm down. But all speculation. We're not accusing anybody. It does possibly look like the injuries on John's arm could be from an animal. And Brian Albert did own a dog at the time. It was a German Shepherd mix named Chloe. She was 70 to 90 pounds. And from Brian's own statement, she was not good with strangers. And again, John didn't really know the Alberts. He'd only met them like a little bit before. I don't think he'd ever been to their house. So Dr. Marie Russell testified for the defense about the injuries. She had extensive research and published papers in regards to animal-related injuries, and she did say they could be consistent with a large dog attack, like a combination of like bite wounds and like scratch marks. And she said in her expertise, she did look to see if it was consistent with injuries sustained by vehicles, and she was like, I personally ruled that out quickly. Again, she's not like an expert in pedestrian hits, but she was like, those seem kind of different. But again, all injuries and these type of things can be different. You can't, there's not like a exact injury that happens every time someone's hit by a car. So, another dog expert testified based on a swab from John's arm, and they did not find dog saliva DNA, but they did find pig DNA on his arm.
Interesting.
Yeah, and she did say it could be from food, like cooked pork or bacon, and it could just depend like where the shirt was, what had been done with it, like had John been cooking bacon, like who knows. And in cross-examination, the defense did bring up that a lot of dog treats are made from pork. And
That's a
in the
good
crime,
point.
yeah, in the Crime Junkie episode, they reference like a personal story where they know of someone who tried to do a dog DNA kit and it came back as pig DNA because they had to give their dog a treat to try to get the sample. So it could be possible if we believe this story. But um I don't think it being pig DNA versus dog DNA immediately is like not anything because why is there pig DNA? But
Yeah.
so they wanted to try and examine the dog, see if they could measure her teeth or her paws, but the Alberts rehomed the dog in May 2022. So Brian said she got into a dog fight in the front yard and they rehomed her. Um, we still don't definitively know what caused the injuries on John's arm. It's highly debated, but pretty weird that it could possibly be a dog attack and then your dog is rehomed 2 months, well, a couple months after
Yeah.
all this starts. So again, the defense thinks that a fight broke out in the house and the fight went too far. They don't really believe they like intended to kill him, but that just things happened. Then he was moved outside. But some people think they wouldn't have been so dumb to just put him on the front yard. Like there's a train track behind the house. Why not put him there or in the street so he could be hit by like a snowplow or a car to make it look like an accident? So like why would they put him there if that's what they're doing? Um, the Alberts also sold their home soon after John's death, which again kind of really ramps up this conspiracy theory. Nicole claims that this had been planned for a while, that she'd reached out to a realtor in 2021 and the sale was finalized in 2023. But again, kind of suspicious that like you rehome your dog, you sell your house, kind of after all of this happens.
Hmm.
So the Free Karen Reed mob would kind of take it really far and harass the families. Like there's videos where they would like show up to like their kids' high school games, like talking to them. They'd call them, they go to their houses, they find the community. And Karen's like, I do feel for them and this happening, but she also believes like they should have also been treated as suspects and not just witnesses. So she was like, I do feel for them, but like this is also happening to me from people. And like you guys were
Hmm.
out with him that night too. Like, why is it all on me and not you guys? So Brian Higgins, who again we mentioned in part one, was a federal ATF agent, was also at the Albert residence that night. Brian said he considered John and Karen friends, and Karen and Brian did have some flirty messages. This part of the trial was so awkward. I think it would haunt me at night if this was me because
Oh,
personal text messages being read out loud in a courtroom.
yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so Karen had messaged him saying she thought he was hot. Brian said the feeling's mutual. He always found her attractive. And Brian does say that he and Karen kissed. Um, Again, really uncomfortable when it was being read, but it was clear from the messages that Brian was also playing along cautiously. Like it's not just Karen coming on to Brian, like they had a mutual flirtatious relationship. So Karen did say it lasted for about 2 weeks. She said her and John had gone to Aruba and they had a fight. So John, Karen, and the children had gone, on this trip to Aruba. A lot of John's friends were there. There was a lot of alcohol, a lot of drinking, as we've kind of seen with this group that like to have a good time. On New Year's Eve, Karen went through the lobby to get to her and John's room, and John was hugging an old friend, but Karen hadn't known who it was. She gets angry, like they start yelling at each other. There's like exchanged words, and then Karen did later apologize. And this is kind of when the flirting with Higgins began. And maybe it's because like their relationship was a little bit rocky. They were fighting more. It wasn't just like this happy, perfect relationship. Like they were kind of hitting some road bumps. So a few days before John's death, John and Karen had been fighting. John had been calling and texting a lot. Um, Karen had been calling and texting a lot. Karen said the relationship was starting to get unhealthy, and the prosecution was trying to use this as motive for second-degree murder and kind of show why Karen would have done that. But according to Alan, again, Karen's lawyer, this also opens up motive for Brian Higgins. So Brian had missed a call from Brian Albert at 2:22 a.m. the morning of John's death. Then Higgins called Albert back, and the phone call lasted 22 seconds. This is interesting because Albert and Higgins both said to investigators that after the party broke up, no one spoke to each other on the phone, but now here are records of this happening. And both men were trying to say they were butt dials. So he's like, oh, he butt dialed me, I butt dialed him back, whatever. Um, Kind of suspicious. And then Jen had called John multiple times after 12:41 a.m. that were unanswered, and Jen also said they were butt dials. So that means there's about 8 butt dials in 2 hours between 3 to 4 people. And I feel like in 2022, butt dials aren't as common as they used to be. I'm not saying they don't happen. We've all accidentally called people, but butt dials I feel like were way more common when like you had your keypad on your phone and not the phones we have now. So Brian Higgins also destroyed his phone. He got a new one and threw the old one away. So the defense attorneys are saying that he did this because he had something on the phone he wanted to get rid of. Um, and Higgins is claiming that someone he was investigating, because he was an ATF agent, had found his phone number. So he cut up or broke the SIM card and the phone, then threw it away on a military base. And they're like, why are you on this military base? Like, why did you go here to dump it? And he said he was just, quote, cutting through the base, which I don't really feels like a common thing you do, but who knows? It seems whether it was related to John's death or not, there was something on this phone like he did not want to be public. Whether it's related to John's death, we don't know, but kind of weird. So, in response to the Google search at 2:27 a.m., Jen said she did Google it at the request of Karen that morning. She said she was freaking out, saying Google hypothermia, but that would have been at 6:23 a.m. Jen says she did not delete the search and that she never made that search at that time. So the prosecution called 2 cell phone experts who said it was a misunderstanding and that is the time the tab was created, not the search. So she could have Googled bread at 2:27 a.m. and then use that same tab as 6:20 a.m. and it would still show as 2:27 a.m. because that new tab was created at that time. She said that at 2:27 a.m. she was Googling baseball stuff for her daughter and that's the tab like she used. But the defense witnesses say those experts are wrong because they're using the wrong iOS. So they're saying this new iOS Jen was using, that's not exactly how the tabs work. Again, it's kind of like he said, she said with the experts now. Like we have experts saying different things. It does kind of seem odd that she would search stuff for like her daughter's baseball team and then move to How Long to Die in the Cold when she's laying in bed. Kind of weird, but kind of also hard to tell with these experts having conflicting statements. So then, in a big twist, a federal probe comes to investigate the people who investigated and are trying to prosecute Karen Reed. So, again, Trooper Proctor was the lead investigator, but had connections to the Alberts through his family, so bit of a conflict of interest. The Alberts had been over to Proctor's parents' house before, and he had been there when the Alberts like were at the house too, so he knew them. Colin Albert was the ring bearer in Proctor's sister's wedding, and Proctor had even asked Julie, Brian's sister-in-law, to babysit his son 10 days before John's death. So to me, this is more than acquaintances. Like, you're not gonna ask a complete stranger to like babysit your kids, be a ring bearer in a wedding, come over to your parents' house. Like, they obviously knew each other. And this is kind of when a big blow happens with everything related to Trooper Proctor. So during the trial, text messages were shown from Proctor in a group chat with friends on January 29th at 10:52 p.m. A friend had texted, quote, "At least she's hot." And Proctor responded, quote, "Yeah, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent though. No ass. She's a whack job cunt." This is 16 hours into the investigation. So John was found at like 6 a.m. and this text is happening at like 11 p.m., which wild. He also at another time in a text message called her the R word, which we're not going to say on here because that is a slur. So we're not going to use that word, but you know what we mean. And while going through her phone, he had sent a text saying, quote, no nudes so far to his bosses, his boss. Um, Proctor did say, yeah, it's an inappropriate text, but whatever. There's also another text to his sister saying, quote, hopefully she kills herself. And when asked about this on the stand, he said, it's just a figure of speech. So he's also the cop who, after her like second arrest, is like, isn't she crazy? Like, all she cares about how she looks like on TV, all this stuff. So this is pretty damning evidence and kind of taints a lot of anything Proctor like said or testified about because clearly he has like almost like a grudge against her or like views her poorly. Like he's not being unbiased with these text messages, obviously. So, one witness, Trooper Paul, was the crash reconstructionist for Massachusetts State Police, and he took apart the car, went through the computer systems, did an analysis based on car logs, and he says the black box data shows Karen flipping her car in reverse, backing up 62 and a half feet at 0 to 24 miles per hour, then abruptly stopping. And so this is kind of the whole premise of the prosecution with this data, saying she backed up quickly, she hit him, and he said it was like a forward projection crash with like a side swipe. He said this hit would like have flown John back into the left with that like side swipe manner, and that possibly like he could have hit his head on the pavement or done this, and kind of giving these like different hypotheticals based on that situation. Um, and then it was time for cross-examination, and Trooper Paul was a very nervous witness. He kind of stuttered a lot. He was very clearly nervous. And the cross-examination was like pretty devastating for the state. So Allen asked if he had any scientific degrees in math, physics, etc. He said he only had a degree in administration of justice. And Allen was able to just kind of make him look like an inexperienced witness who kind of maybe didn't even understand his own data. Trooper Paul presented a theory that he was hit in the arm and that sent him projecting backwards. But also during cross-examination, Allen got him to say there was no evidence that he rolled or flew in the air because that's, again, kind of just speculation. So the defense then brings in two witnesses from ARCA, which is a professional accident reconstruction company that works for the government, the NHL, other official services, pretty accredited. And these guys are very polished. They have advanced degrees in biomechanics and physics, and they say Sideswipe causes very little damage and very little movement. And they said it's inconsistent for many reasons, but especially for striking the arm. And there's no way this vehicle strike killed John, even if it possibly hit his head, the injuries were inconsistent. So the state kind of had a very nervous witness, and the defense comes in with these two, like, clearly have testified before, advanced degrees, very well put together. So then the medical examiner testifies about John's injuries. So John had several abrasions on his right arm, cuts to his nose and above his right eye, a 2-inch laceration on the back of his head, multiple skull fractures that caused bleeding in his brain, and two black eyes. He does not have any broken bones from the neck down, which is something the defense kind of harps on a lot. All of his injuries are neck and above, besides like his arm being cut up, but like there's no broken bones from the neck down. So the cause of death was his injuries and hypothermia, and she said she did not have enough information to determine the manner of death, whether it was accidental or not, and she classified it as undetermined. So, according to one of Karen's attorneys, the manner of death is one of the most fundamental parts of a case. And even their own expert could not say whether it was accidental or intentional. Like the medical examiner is like, it's undetermined. I can't tell you if this was on purpose or not. So the defense had focused very hard on John's injuries the whole trial. No broken bones, the scrapes on his arms, and the state asked the medical examiner if the injuries on his arm were consistent with plastic/glass like scrapes, and she said it's possible, but the injuries were not consistent with classic pedestrian injuries that she observes. So prosecutors are now saying they found John's DNA and a single piece of hair on Karen's SUV. John's DNA was also found on the cocktail glass found at the scene, and the DNA was found where the state says she hit him, like the taillight, and the hair was found near the taillight. So the defense had two responses to that. One, John's DNA would be all over that car. He was in a long-term relationship with Karen and was in the car around the car that night. Also, their second point is if Karen's SUV hit John that night, then she drives home to John's house, and then her car was towed a long distance. How did this single strand of hair stay on the car that whole distance? It was driven 60 miles back and forth in a blizzard, so it kind of seems odd this like one little piece of hair would just stay on there. The state said maybe it was frozen to the car and then as it melted, the DNA revealed itself, but it's kind of unclear on what exactly happened. So Brian Lugarin, who went by Lucky, was a plow driver who plowed 34 Fairview that morning and throughout the night of the snowstorm, and he was called to the stand. So Alan says if Karen hit John at 12:30 and then, he was left there for that entire time, then his body would be there every minute after. So why did no one leaving the house, in the house, driving by the house see him? Like, how did no one else see him? So, a snowplow driver, Lucky, did drive by at 2:45 in the morning, and Lucky said that night was a blizzard, so they had to start like at a certain time to like start plowing the roads. And they have like two plow lights that are like situated at the corner of the trucks and are really high up. And he said it illuminates like very well. He's like, I can see a very far distance in the front and to the sides. And he said, I can probably see 10 feet. He said maybe even 15 feet, maybe even further. And Lucky grew up in Canton and was very familiar with where the Alberts lived. And he drove by around 2:45 in the morning, and he said by the flagpole in their yard that he saw nothing. So, if you believe Lucky's testimony, there's no body there. How can Karen have hit him at 12:30 and left him? Lucky was a great witness for the defense. Like he was very clearly like prepped for trial. He did very well. He answered very well. So then it was time for closing arguments. The jury was going to have a lot of charges to consider. So Karen was charged with second-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, motor vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated, and with driving under the influence. So Alan's closing statement was memorable and excellent. He is a great courtroom storyteller, which is his job, and he did it very well. He was very persuasive, laid it on thick. But once the prosecution lawyer, Adam Lawley, started, it wasn't as captivating, and you could kind of see the jurors were starting to lose interest. And Adam actually ran out of time, and the judge had to stop him. And, like, for a closing argument, that is not great. The last sentence in a closing argument is the most important. Like, after that, the juries are sent to deliberate. So, like, you want to make sure, like, your closing argument sticks it, and Adam didn't really do that. So the makeup of the jury was six men and six women. And again, if you're outside of the United States, in America, you need all 12 jurors to agree on a guilty or non-guilty verdict. Like in some countries, I think as long as you have majority, it's fine, but you have to have all 12 jurors agree in the United States. So the defense thought deliberations would take a couple hours, but soon they were on multiple days. And you never know how long jurors will deliberate. So, after almost 20 hours of deliberation, the jury came in and said they could not reach a unanimous decision and they were deadlocked. The judge asked them to return to deliberations. Then, after 26 and a half hours of deliberation, the jury comes back to court, and on July 1st, 2024, the trial was officially called a mistrial due to a hung jury. So, this means Karen may have trial again, and the state did say they would continue to try this case until there was a verdict. So, it wasn't exactly a win, it was a hung jury. So Karen's second trial got set for April 2025, and a new prosecutor was assigned to the case. So Trooper Michael Proctor was fired in March 2025. He was dishonorably discharged after the State Police Trial Board found him guilty of unsatisfactory performance and consumption of alcohol on duty, and his lawyers said they are appealing this. No details on the federal investigation that starting during the first trial have been released. It was closed and no charges came of it. So, in between the trials, multiple jurors from the first trial said they did agree that Karen was not guilty of murder or leaving the scene, but they didn't know how to give a partial verdict. I guess they didn't understand, oh, we can find her not guilty on some counts and be undecided on the others. So, Karen's lawyers filed appeals all the way to the Supreme Court, arguing that double jeopardy should prevent her from being retried on the counts the jury agreed on. However, they did not win this appeal. It was never an official writing, so it was kind of hard to get a win on that one. So Karen's legal team got back together for the second trial, and as we mentioned, there was a new prosecutor, Hank Brennan. So Hank is normally a defense attorney and had more charisma in the courtroom versus Adam Lawley, since clearly Karen's team was very well polished. They're like, we got to have someone come in who's a little bit more charismatic. So the prosecution was bringing a higher level of detail and expertise into this second trial. Karen had done a few interviews, and the prosecution was able to bring this into the second trial, saying she was only acting out of her best interest. The defense also changed their strategy a little bit and decided instead of conspiracy, focusing on another possible scenario, they're like, we're just going to hammer home the reasonable doubt. Like, we're not going to worry about blaming the Alberts or Brian Higgins or the McCabe's or anyone else. We're just going to hammer home reasonable doubt. So, when the trial went over his injuries again in the second trial, the defense pushed reasonable doubt since they couldn't definitively say where those came from or where he was standing. So, again, like reasonable doubt, you can't say for sure where they were. Also, during the second trial, Michael Proctor, Brian Higgins, and Brian Albert did not testify. They did still bring up the messages to Karen from Brian Higgins and Proctor's text about Karen, but neither side felt they needed to bring them up on the stands to discuss it. It was just kind of brought up. So many witnesses were called, including law enforcement, forensic experts, and John's loved ones, including his mom. Karen Reed did not testify during this trial either, just like the first one, but clips of her were shown to the jury and told to be treated as evidence. It's always risky to put a defendant on the stand, and the defense decided against letting her testify just to avoid the cross-examination. And during the second trial, the defense did not bring up the third party culprit, as we said. They did file a motion saying they wanted the instruction to go to the jury that it was a possibility, but the judge said she'll see if it was developed, and it really wasn't, so it didn't really get brought up. The prosecution tried to point that there was no time to plant evidence at the scene, saying the time between Karen's car being seized and the finding of evidence was too short. They also used Apple Health data from John's phone. It said it could show steps once he got out of Karen's car and stopped a few minutes later, and the phone was never moved again until John's body was found. However, I could see reasonable doubt with this as well. Like, what if he dropped his phone on the way to the house? You could drop your phone in the snow and it show that. Um, but again, this is hard for the defense's theory that he went inside the house, was killed, and then placed outside because his phone never moved again. But again, he could have dropped it, and some reports also say the whole data is showing half a mile from the Alberts house, which also means the data isn't reliable. So, twice during the trial, the defense tried to call for a mistrial. The first was in early June, after the second day of a defense expert witness being questioned about the dog DNA on John's sweatshirt, which had not been presented to the jury at that time. So, they hadn't mentioned that to that jury, and then a defense expert witness, talked about it. And the second was the following week. The defense accused the prosecution of trying to pull a stunt by asking if the holes in the back of the sweatshirt could have been caused by a backwards fall. And the prosecutor later told the court that he'd made a mistake, and the judge confirmed to the jurors that holes had been made by a criminologist who had examined evidence after the fact. So they kind of knew where those holes came from. And then the prosecution was trying to be like, could that have been made from him falling backwards? And they're like, do you not know the facts of this case, basically? But neither of those worked for the defense. So the defense in their closing argument said the prosecution had no irrefutable evidence that Karen hit John with her car. They said the police investigation was flawed and the prosecution was biased. Prosecutors focused more this time on not pushing the intent angle. They focused less on the second degree murder. They didn't try to persuade murders. They didn't try to persuade jurors that she intended to murder, and instead said she intentionally reversed her car despite knowing it could kill him. So it's like, oh, well, she backed up knowing she could have hit him, kind of thing. In prosecution's closing statement, they say she may not even know she hit him, but she did and then left him alone to die. So, after the jury was sent to deliberate, the defense also petitioned for multiple not guilty boxes to be added under each count to avoid possibly what happened last time, where like jurors didn't understand they could give a partial judgment, but the judge denied it. And then on June 18th, 2025, yes, like a month ago, Karen was acquitted of the murder of John O'Keefe. She was sentenced to 1 year probation for operating a vehicle under the influence. They did find her guilty of driving under the influence, which I think she kind of admitted herself. Like
Yeah.
that kind of happened. So, and then after the trial, Karen said, quote, I just want to say two things. Number one is I could not be standing here without amazing supporters who've supported me and my team financially, and more importantly, emotionally for almost 4 years. And the second thing I want to say is no one has fought harder for justice for John O'Keefe than I have, and my team. So she's kind of saying like, we're fighting for justice and you're just pointing your fingers at the wrong person. Um, and she has been acquitted of all these, but she hired, like, I read somewhere she owes like millions to the lawyers. Like,
Yeah,
she
I
owes a
bet.
lot of money. And like a lot of people have donated, but like she still owes a lot of money. Um, and while Karen has now been acquitted on all murder charges, she's not done with her time in court because the O'Keefe family filed a civil suit against Karen. So this was initially filed after the first trial ended in a hung jury. And so if you kind of remember our O.J. Simpson case, I'm not trying to compare this Karen Reed to O.J. Simpson, but something similar happened where like O.J. was acquitted in the criminal trial, but they also sued in a civil case. This is kind of what's happening. So I'm not saying they're the same. I'm just saying that's what's happening. So Karen is not the only defendant in this civil suit, but also the two bars she drank at that night, C.F. McCarthy's and the Waterfall Bar and Grill. So the O'Keefe family is saying that the bars are liable for serving Karen drinks that night that put John in danger. And the court said that Karen did not have to be disposed or questioned until after her criminal trial. So now that's over, that might start happening soon. The lawsuit's asking for at least $50,000 in damages, and it's not just about the actions leading up to John's death, but it's also in the lawsuit is for emotional distress on John's niece for how Karen woke her up to tell her something happened to her uncle. So it's kind of all put in there. So Paul, who is John's brother, is the lead plaintiff in the civil case, and John's parents and niece are also listed as co-plaintiffs. So Netflix has talked about doing a series as well, talking about the days leading up to John's death. I don't know if they're going more into like his fights with Karen or what. If this does happen, we'll watch and put out an update if anything like new is revealed that seems noteworthy in regards to it and the civil lawsuit. And while Karen Reed has been acquitted, justice for John was not found. So there's a lot of people who still believe in the cover up, and it's kind of hard to not at least entertain it with some of the facts. It's kind of hard not to. But what really happened to John and like justice for John is still needed. John's family lost their loved one. So please don't forget this fact in the middle of it all. Like, not to bring it back to the OJ case, but again, like sometimes when someone's put on trial, it's like all the attention goes to them and like people forget someone did die. And like, I don't think Karen Reed asked for this. I don't think it's her fault. Like she was fighting for her life. Like what else is she supposed to do? But like we don't know what happened to John. It could have been an accident. It could have been a cover up. Like I don't know. The damages to his face are like crazy to me. It's
Yeah.
crazy to me. No one saw him out there if she hit him that early. Like I don't know. I don't believe second-degree murder at all. I could maybe see her being drunk, accidentally hitting him,
Hmm.
something, but like there's just too much circumstantial evidence in this one for me.
There's just so much that doesn't add up. Which also thanks to Courtney for taking this whole episode because my baby would not stop crying and I had to go feed her. So if you wonder why Courtney just kept talking, my bad. Um, but I also do want to go back to a point you made. So I had my headphones in so I could hear Courtney the whole time she was talking. I just could not respond. But I did want to go back to the point you made about the hair on the car because so. if you've not seen my daughter, she has very like white blonde hair. And we drive a black vehicle, and like a piece of her hair got caught in like the part of the handle that like opens, like the door handle, like
Hmm.
on the outside of the car. Like the part of the door handle that like opens it, like got caught in like that hinge or whatever. And it was on my car for probably over a week. And like you could see it. Like it's like white blonde, like you could see, and it's
Was
like
it because it was in the hinge though? Because this was just on a random spot on the car.
yeah, it was in the hinge, so it was definitely like stuck in there, but like it was
Hmm.
still like in there and like driven
Yeah.
all around and everything. So I mean, maybe like you said, like it being frozen to the vehicle or whatever. But I just had to throw that out there too. That I was like, I mean, that is possible.
Yeah, it is possible. And I've never tested a piece of hair frozen, unfrozen on a car. I
Yeah,
don't know. Also, like we said, John was in that car, around that car. They had been dating.
exactly.
Who knows when that was put there, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't
The
know what to do about that piece of evidence.
yeah, the finding of the taillight pieces are weird. Like that they like didn't find them and then they found all of them and the
Yeah.
lapsed time on the video, like there's, 2 minutes that her car would have driven by that just didn't happen to be there.
Yeah, like the tail light for me too is like that morning they took a leaf blower and they found the cocktail glass, they found all this stuff.
hmm
But this is snow and this is a red tail light. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how would you not? Like, how is that not glaringly obvious?
hmm
I don't know.
And the fact that all of these witnesses testified to her saying, like, I hit him, but there's no, like, video evidence of this when there's video evidence of her, like, saying other things, which, not to say that she couldn't have said that, like, before or after, like, recording started. I'm not saying
Hmm.
that that's, like, evidence that she
She could have
definitely
also
did
been
not say
saying, did I
that.
hit him? Like,
Yeah,
something
that's,
like,
yeah.
but we also don't have like video footage of it. And all the witnesses kind of backpedaled once they were questioned about it from the defense.
Yeah.
And they were kind of like, well, I don't know. Like,
I don't know, actually. Yeah, it's just,
yeah.
it's so weird. It's just so, and like, where did his injuries come from? Like, was it from the dog? Like, some of the injuries that, like, don't make sense
Hmm.
with being hit by a car. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it could even be like the dog attacked him. He like stumbled his way out, fell. I don't know why they would then cover it up. Maybe because it happened in your house and you're like
Yeah,
freaking out.
that's true.
I don't know. I also the whole time I'm thinking about Karen and how drunk she probably is. And then if
hmm
you think she's this mastermind who did it on purpose, how and you know at 4:30 when she woke up, she's still drunk. We all know
Yeah.
she's still drunk. She had like 9 drinks
hmm
in a couple hours. So I'm like, how could she like be like, oh, I'm gonna hit him, I'm gonna kill him, and then I'm gonna go back, and then I'm gonna make sure I hit his car backing out, and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna do this, and then I'm gonna call them, and then like, why would she even question like, could I have hit him if like that would then be used against her? I don't know. Like that part, I'm like,
That is a lot of like one planning when you're like that drunk, that late at
yeah.
night, everything going on. But like you said too, like, why would she
And why would she keep
question
calling
that?
him?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like in that moment when you're like drunk, like I don't know. Like also you're hitting him and he died of hypothermia. Like he didn't die
hmm
immediately. He died because he was
Yeah.
out there for like 4 hours. So like pretty terrible plan because you're like, well, these people are gonna leave at some point. There's a party going on in the house. I'm just gonna leave them in the yard. Like, I don't
And the
know.
Google search of how long it takes to die in the cold, I mean,
Yeah. It's and then you have like the opposing expert witnesses who were like, it was at this time, it wasn't at this time. It's like,
yeah.
what do you even believe? It
Yeah.
makes me be like, we really haven't come as far as I thought we have as far as like technology evidence goes. Because, and then like the
That's
Apple
true.
Health data, which isn't really reliable because that relies like on your phone being
hmm
on you. But like, even so, I mean, how many times have we walked next to each other and like my watch says I walked like
Yeah.
double the steps you walked? Like, it's not that reliable. So it's like,
hmm
I don't know.
I mean, it's definitely one of those like if she did it, I do think she should have been acquitted because I don't think there's enough evidence to
Hmm.
prove that she did it. But
I
I
also
don't
think
know.
if she did it, I don't believe it was intentional.
No.
I don't believe she set out that night to be like, I'm gonna kill him.
hmm
And if she somehow like hit him, I don't. think she knew she did, and I think it was an accident. I don't even
Yeah.
necessarily know if I believe that happened. I don't know if I believe the cover up because that's kind of crazy. That's a lot of people to be in on that. But
That's
it's
a
also
lot of
like,
people involved.
how much police corruption do we know of?
Yeah.
And like, no matter what happened, she was not treated fairly as like a suspect. There was never any
Yeah.
other suspect.
Hmm.
They never interviewed witnesses separately. 16 hours into the investigation, he's calling her a whack job cunt.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like she was never treated unbiasedly.
Hmm.
Like everyone was
Agreed.
like told Karen could have hit him, and then everyone's minds shifted, like
And
all
that was
like
the
Jim McCabe,
entire,
and everyone was like, yeah, that's how I remember it. Like,
like we said before, it's like once you, as soon as you have that in mind and then you're investigating, trying to prove that that's what happened instead of trying to find
follow
out
the
what
evidence. Yeah.
actually happened and like look at it from an unbiased perspective. Like now it's like, okay, this is our theory. Like we're going to try to find evidence to prove this theory versus we're just going to look at all of the evidence and all of the possible suspects and
hmm And I think
anything
that's
that could
what
have happened.
turned this case into a shit show a bit is in like they then went and charged her with second degree murder. Like they could have just
Hmm.
gone for involuntary manslaughter or vehicular
Yeah.
manslaughter. And I think she would have fought it, obviously, but I don't think it would
Hmm.
have been because it's obviously still not great, but it's not second
Hmm.
degree murder. That's
Yeah.
insane. Like
Yeah.
that's saying you like that night she intended to kill him.
Hmm.
What like
Hmm.
whether it was just like in a fit of rage, whatever. And it's like I don't think you have any evidence for that
Yeah. Yeah.
besides they had been fighting. Like Kevin and I fight doesn't mean I'm like I don't know.
And just like this poor man to like die such a horrible death. Like
Yeah.
you're injured and then you're just like dying alone in the cold for hours.
Yeah. His in the docuseries, like it wasn't all Karen one-sided. There's a lot of his like friends who were also
Hmm.
interviewed. And his friend said like the only thing that gives him peace is that like I guess like with hypothermia, it can be like kind of peaceful because you
Hmm.
like get so cold that you kind of start like hallucinating and then you kind of
Yeah.
get warm and then you kind of drift off to sleep. Like it's still horrific because you're like freezing to death, but that like
Hmm.
he's like, all I can hope is that he was like looking up at the stars and just like maybe didn't fully know
Yeah.
what was happening, but like you're just alone in the cold and it's like,
And like honestly, like hopefully he was kind of drunk enough that like that helped
yeah,
like relax him, you know?
yeah,
Ugh,
yeah, I don't know. It's,
so tragic and just all
yeah,
around and not having answers to what actually
like what
happened.
happened?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Why didn't the Alberts have a Ring doorbell?
Right.
It might not have picked it up, but still,
I
like,
mean, maybe one day more evidence will come to light and
yeah.
we'll have answers about what happened.
I also, I don't know, another of his friends' theory is that they got into a fight. John threw the cocktail glass like at her car and then she accidentally backed up into him or something. Like they're not even like fully convinced the whole
Hmm.
second degree murder thing, but like I don't know. It's just like I'm like if you hit someone with a car, wouldn't there be more damage to your car? Enough to leave all those damages on him besides just like a cracked taillight? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like
I
I
mean,
mean it is car versus man, so but
unless like the dog thing did happen and then he was hit by a car. And so it's like his injuries weren't that
yeah.
bad, but then he's just like knocked out and dying in the cold, you know?
hmm
Like so maybe it's like they're two separate incidents. That is a
Yeah.
possibility.
I think
Possibility.
it was like very telling too that like when Karen was over at the house and like the brother was like, "Oh, I saw him. Like he looked like he got beat up." And
Hmm.
then it's like, "Okay, but like if you're just hit with a car and you have scrapes on your like how does your face get that beat up?"
Like you said, when there's not that much damage to the car.
Yeah, I'm not a car expert, so I don't know. It's just it's also like I feel like if you were hitting him, you'd be and it's like the tail light is hitting his arm.
Hmm.
What's hitting his head to cause those injuries besides falling backwards? But
I
then
mean,
why
that
is
was
the
my
front
thought
of
was
his
just like
head?
falling, like
But like
hitting the
his
ground.
nose, like he had all like abrasions like on the front of his face too, not just the back. So then it's like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
I
know.
don't know.
It's a weird
Um,
one. Guys, it's
Yeah,
so
definitely.
weird.
Let us know your thoughts because I'm
Yeah,
sure you
it's a,
guys have plenty.
and I'm sure it will be very divided what the
Yes.
comments are gonna be. But
Yeah, which
I'm,
I get. I mean,
I totally get. I'm not like, I don't know if I would be someone who like goes out and protests either way for Kieran Reed
hmm
or whatever. Like, I do believe she was treated unfairly. I do believe she'd
hmm
been acquitted because there's so much reasonable doubt in this case. Like
Yeah.
none of it makes sense. I don't think it should have gone that far. And I also do think there should be justice for John and his name
Yep.
shouldn't be forgotten in it as well.
Exactly. Exactly. Well put. All right, so to try to end you guys on a little positive note, hopefully Courtney has thought of her perk of the week during all the free time she's had where she's been talking this entire time while
I
I
know.
fed a
I was
baby.
like, oh, I can think about it. Well,
Nope,
it's
no
fine.
thinking at all. What is your perk of the week, Courtney?
I pull it out of my ass half the time anyway. I just had to reflect back on what have I done this week. I started The Ultimatum Queer Love, which is
Mm-hmm.
one of the craziest ultimatum in general, not just the queer love part. Craziest reality shows on TV. But it's been entertaining to say
Nice.
the least. Basically, the whole premise is you're giving them an ultimatum. One person wants to get married, the other person doesn't. So what you
Mm-hmm.
do is you break up and then start dating someone else who's done the same thing. You go live with them for
Oh,
3 weeks, then go back with your partner for 3 weeks. So
interesting.
not really sure how that prepares you for. Yeah, I mean, I get it to an extent, but like, I think it's backfiring on most people. I don't think
Yeah.
it's. I think most people break up after it. I don't think it's ending in a lot of successful marriages.
Yeah, I
But
can't imagine that it would.
yeah, in this season, spoiler alert, warning, one of the trial marriage partners, known each other for 3 weeks, got matching tattoos. And I was like, oh, I would
Oh,
flip my shit. And the one
oh,
girl was like, yeah, my partner has like wanted to get matching tattoos and all this, and so she's gonna be upset, but I don't care. And I'm like, oh,
that's
red
over.
flag, red flag,
Done.
red flag,
Yeah,
red flag.
yeah.
Um,
There's no coming back from that.
but also like you know someone for 3 weeks and you go get matching tattoos, like that is insane.
That's crazy. But especially like if your long-term partner has been wanting to get them and
Yeah.
you're like,
Like they
nope,
said,
but then you're
like,
like,
if we are
you're
stay
the one.
together, like after the ultimatum, like we'll go get matching tattoos. And then yeah,
Yeah. Mm.
crazy, but entertaining as hell. So,
hmm
yeah, that's just my continuation of here's all the trash TV I watch, and then everyone's probably judging me for, but you know what? It is what it is. It's what we do to get through the day. So,
Exactly.
um, but yeah, so that is my perk of the week. Jacqueline, what is your perk of the week?
So my pick of the week, again, also a TV show, which is crazy. But Andrew and I have been watching The Pitt together on Max and just super sucked into it. It's
Hmm.
basically ER, but it's like a 1 day season. So, episode one starts at like 7 a.m. and then it goes through. Each
Hmm.
season is like an hour in like the day in the ER. So you like get to know like all these,
You mean each
mostly,
episode? Each
what did
season
I say?
is an 12 episodes for 1 hour.
It's late. I'm tired. So yes, and so you get to like know all the like doctors and like some like new doctors, and then you have some patients who are like there the entire time, and then you have some that are like in and out. Very similar to
Hmm.
like an actual ER, but just very interesting and a fun little drama that keeps you engaged. So
Keeps you
we've been watching
engaged,
that
yeah.
this week and been enjoying it. So it's also fun when we find a show that we both like because that does not happen very often. So two in a row now. We
Yeah.
watched the new season of White Lotus together, and now we're watching this one. And the new season of Quarterback with Joe Burrow is coming on. Came out today as of this recording, so we'll
Oh, I
have
didn't
that
know
to
it came out
watch.
today. I knew it was coming soon, but
Yeah.
yeah, Sydney was trying to pitch the pit to Kevin, and I was like, Kevin, I don't know. And he's like, well, it sounds kind of interesting. I was like, I know you, and this doesn't feel like you. And then she started talking more about it, and he
No.
was like, because I was like, I don't think I'm ready for an ER drama. I don't think I can, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do
Yeah.
medical dramas were never my thing, but I'm like, I really don't know if I can do it right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, Kevin, it doesn't really sound like your show. Kevin's very
He
specific on
was
his
ready to give
shows.
it a try. Okay.
I mean, I said go for it. I was like, but I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see if he ends
Yeah.
up giving it a shot, but
It's pretty good.
yeah.
So,
Pretty good.
pretty good.
So it's not good. It's
No, I
pretty
know.
good.
I think it is good.
Okay, so basically to give insight about
Yes.
this is Kevin and I had a debate in our marriage, and usually, no offense, Kevin, I'm right in our debates in our marriage, or we at least recognize it is a cultural difference kind of
Hmm.
thing. But basically, I thought pretty good is better than good because you're adding like a relatively positive, you know, qualifier in front of it. And he was like, no, that means it's worse. And then I'm like, what are you
Hmm.
talking about? And then everyone was like, no, it's worse, it's worse, it's worse. But now I'm like, how many people have I insulted by saying pretty good? And that apparently means horrible. And so
Well,
that's
see,
where that comment comes from. So
and like when I think about TV, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. Like I feel like there are very few TV shows that I'm like, it's great. It's 1,000% like wonderful,
yeah, yeah, but
amazing,
you're
you
not saying
know?
it's great and you're not saying it's good. You're saying it's pretty good. It's on its way to great. It's better than good.
No, no, it's not.
So it's more bad than it is good.
No, I just wouldn't like
It's more bad than it is great.
it's good. I don't know.
See?
I'm
See,
confused
see,
now.
see, 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 see. Everyone's
On that
disagreeing with
note,
me until I call them out on it and they go, I don't know what I'm talking about either. So none of us know. So
I
I
also
can
feel like
never say pretty
sometimes
good or good.
I also feel like it's one of those things sometimes that you just like say without like thinking like,
Yeah.
I'm giving it a number of 1 to
Well,
10. Like
and
this
that's
is
how
like
I've
a
always
7.
been where I'm like, well, I feel like just saying good is like, eh.
Yeah.
Not that good's eh, but I'm like, well, it's pretty good to be like, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, give it a chance versus being like, yeah, it's good. Like, eh.
Which my aunt made a good point that the inflection matters. If you're like,
Yeah.
it's pretty good versus it's pretty good. You know,
Yeah.
those are
So
two different things. So
let us
don't let
know
us,
your thoughts on that
yes.
too.
Always.
At all the places, all the things in the show notes. Give us 5 stars on Apple, on Spotify, on all the platforms. You can see us on YouTube. Give us a comment. Let us know your thoughts on this case, on the desert island question, on pretty good,
So much.
where you think it falls. We've discussed way too much in this episode. Um, Patreon.com/caffeinated crimes. There'll be a bonus coming out very soon.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's it.
Yes.
In the meantime, go have a cup of coffee.
And don't commit a crime.